that, and I also have another concept. All right, so we're going to start with planks, and I think people do planks wrong a lot, and this goes for coaches and athletes. So Tony, show me your plank. Okay, so first thing he's got, Yeah. No, drop on your knees for a second, though. Stay in the same body shape. All right, so he does what everybody typically does, which is rounds through here. And the latest research shows that this position actually turns off your deep core. So it turns off your diaphragm, turns off your pelvic floor, turns off your transverse abdominis, internal, external obliques, okay? So I want to change that shape a little bit. So I'm going to do it while you're on your knees. So I don't ever, everyone pops up into a plank just immediately onto their toes. I don't ever do that with anyone. And by the time I'm done with them, they hate me. Now the other thing he wanted to do was he brought his arms in like this, right? And a lot of gymnasts also do this, like where they're in like in this position. So I don't necessarily like that, and I don't like that for you guys because what is that a lot of? Pecs, right? What position did he just get in? What did he do? You guys are doing lots of reaches and lots of forward. So I want the opposite of that, so I want everything open. And so if you look at the rib cage of the bell hanging over the pelvis, I don't want your bell down. I want your bell to be over your pelvis. So we're going to get Tony in that position. And in order to do that, no one can do that on their toes. Not even the best person. So we do it on their knees, and then we breathe, and then we go through, go to his toes. So I want you to think about just dropping here. There you go. And let your head come up. Good. Now, drop your nose so that your nose falls off your face. There. So you guys see the lining position and the shape just changed? So this is for you and your athletes, right? So ear, shoulder, okay? And I'm going to have him, so we've got a black back, so I'm going to be white so you can see. There's just this one little spot that he kind of still wants to round a little bit. Yeah, so just like a Jenga piece drop there. Now, the next thing is super important. In order to get your core firing correctly, you want to make sure that the diaphragm pelvic floor system is working together. So you want to breathe into your ribcage like an umbrella. So it should be opening in all directions, and then breathe out before you do anything. So let that go a little bit more. Yes, there. So now I'm trying to align his bell over his pelvis so that his core, I mean that's the goal of the plank, right, is to get his core in function. Well, if he's dropping his bell, he's not functioning his core. He's just using rectus, which is great to hold your organs in. We don't want your organs falling out, but not so great for shape or protecting the spine or anything else really. Let that go. There. Okay, now you're going to breathe in. So there's a little natural curve here that should stay. Just a little bit more, let this go. There. So did y'all see the little natural curve change? So I want to keep that. So now you're going to breathe into your ribcage like an umbrella. Breathe out and put one foot out. There you go. Breathe in. Breathe out and do the other foot. And now did you guys see him tuck his tail? So come back to your feet and onto your knees. So he did exactly what everyone does, which was to try to use his big glute muscles to try to take over. I'm not saying glutes aren't going to help us, but I want to keep the natural curve in his spine. It's called a neutral spine. That's actually the most stable place for his core to work. And so most of you guys as coaches, Tony's going to be so sore after he's over off. Most of you guys, especially men in particular, and actually I'm finding it in almost everybody, because everybody keeps landing like this with their tail tucked underneath them, right? And so they're totally losing their natural curve. And when you lose the natural curve, now you've got your whole system from here, system of central stability, not functioning. So how are you going to spot an athlete if this system is not functioning correctly? And you're definitely not going to protect yourself. So let this go. So back on our, yeah, there you go. There you go. And so, Tony, what I want you to do when you do the breathing and pop up and breathing pop up, I want you to think about just letting this stay and let that come. And I'm going to watch his neck because I really let your nose fall. You guys already know this because y'all are brilliant. That wherever his head goes, okay, so yes, now keep letting that there and let this drop in there. And let the head component and breathe. 2, let this drop. There. And breathe. So you hold for 10 to 30 seconds and breathe the whole time. And he's already shaking, right? And so when he starts to lose it, you stay in the position. I'm going to take no, I'm just kidding. No, we'll get a mat, so you don't do it on that. But then when you get to it to where you're starting to lose it, then you just drop on your knees and keep the good position and finish out the 30 seconds that way, right? So it's just really important that you maintain that stability. And then we can do all kinds of fun things out of planks. But this is really hard. And I rarely will have anyone do a plank longer than 30 seconds or a minute. Like, because I don't know anyone that really can hold this in a good way, and even working them all the time, that they're not cheating, compensating in some way. Yes? When he starts? Yeah, so to start with, I mean, I have athletes that sometimes will put their knees underneath their hips, but I like to have them further back because then it's easier for them to get into the toe position. With that. It's too hard.
I would end up like shifting my weight.
Yeah, it's a lot harder when the knees are, so let the knees be a little further back so that you can, and the same thing when he comes down from this plank position, he wants to be here and here, right? And then I want to watch his head position. So what I was saying about the head is that wherever the head goes, the body goes. So if his head is out like this, then your spine is going to either tuck to try to compensate or go in the other direction. So that's why we had his ears aligned with his shoulders, which is super important for shaping and all kinds of stuff, right? And shaping is just as important for you guys. No one's judging you on your shapes, right? But shaping, in the end, the alignment is what helps protect your body. Because your spine is meant to be in a specific posture, in particular spine neutral. And when it's not, you now have stresses on parts of the joints and or disc, right, that they shouldn't be. And this is a great position to blow out a disc. Okay, especially if you do it over and over and over and over for what, 40, 50, 60 hours a week in the gym, right? All right, so let's do side plank. Are you going to manage, or do you need something underneath your elbow? Do you want your jacket? Okay, all right. Okay, lay on your side. And I'll show a picture of this here in a second. It's kind of hard. I have to toggle back and forth from this, but the video seems pretty helpful. Yes, guys? Okay, good. All right, so a lot of people do side planks. Tony, how would you normally do a side plank? Uh-huh, and uh-huh. So he did pretty much what everybody does with their legs straight out. I like to start them with their knees bent and then go to straight out. And as far as the forward plank, you progress to how long, like the longer he can hold, and eventually the whole time is on his toes. But I would have dropped him probably about 10, 15 seconds in. All right, so knees are bent to like 90 degrees. And then I want knees, hip, shoulder in alignment, and then ear, right? So that he's here. Ear, shoulder, hip. And I'm just looking down at him, and that's what it looks like. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I want him to bring his elbow in a little bit underneath them a little bit more, so that when he presses up, what I should see at his shoulder blade here is that it should actually come out. Do you guys see that? So when he presses from the ground, your shoulder blade is going to move away from your spine and toward your armpit. Okay? Now, the other thing we have to watch is all those people who want to dump their bell are going to do the same thing in this position. So he's doing a pretty good job because he's Tony. Yep, good. All right, because he's Tony. All right, so I want you to breathe into your ribcage like an umbrella again. Breathe out, and when you press up, you're going to lift the hip up, but the shoulder blade is going to move away from your spine toward your armpit, which is hard. Are you sure? Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I understand. How's that? Is it? Okay, all right. Okay. He didn't know what he's volunteering for. I'm so going to drink later. All right, so breathe into the ribcage like an umbrella. Breathe out, and then press up. There you go, yeah. And really think about the shoulder blade coming out here. So I'm going to give you a little lift. There. And now hold. Sorry. So your wing muscle, good. So then when he gets good, breathing, and you're breathing the whole time, right? And head, let your nose fall. There. Good. And then you can come up into this position and bring the arm up. You can play games here when they get really good, right? You can bring the arm forward. You can do whatever. Come on down. And then progress them so the legs are straight out. Now, he wanted to, and Tony, did you feel it? You wanted to kind of do this with your shoulder blade when you first pressed up.
Pushed up enough so I could feel where I needed to.
Right. And so what I cued him is, it's called your serratus anterior. It's your wing muscle here. You want to do the other side? Oh, yeah, go for it. Good thing to see Tony girl eats, right? Okay, so you have your serratus anterior right here, and it actually pulls that shoulder blade out, right? That's super important for getting your arms over your head. So that position that Doug was in. Anyways, so it's good. So this is cool because we're working core and breathing, but you're also working that upward rotation that's going to help you when you go to get your arms overhead. And you're working your spine stability, which is going to help you when you go to do the squatting side of things. All right, so get the elbow underneath you a little bit more. Knees in line with your hips, please. There you go. So if you get your knees in line with their hips, what are we stretching actively? Right, yes, yes. And it's probably tight for him right now in this position. That's another reason why I kind of like the knees bit. I know, see, he's really serious. He's going to try to be, he was working really hard on the court and the plank early. All right, so yes, we got our Jenga pieces all in line. The rib cage is in line with his pelvis. You're going to breathe in, breathe out, and now I'm going to follow his shoulder blades. So it kind of wanted to stay. So I'm just going to say, come back down for a second. Think about this coming away towards your armpit. Ready? There. There. There's the press. Did you feel that? Yeah. So did you guys see that little lift? Yes. And so that's super important, major important for that. All right, Tony, come on down. So you guys good with those two? Yes, Tony's dying. All right, now the next thing we're going to do, there was a chair. Here it is. This is an active hamstring stretch, but also a core exercise and a dynamic hip flexor stretch as well. You're going to lay down again. I know, he likes the laying stuff. And then I typically would take like, yeah. So, and I'll show you guys the progression. But I typically would take a towel, folded up t-shirt, or an 1.5-inch soft bound book is another thing, and place it underneath their head. But underneath the balls of the head, like these little base parts right here, the knots on the back of your head. But like the edge of it, yeah, so that your neck has room to drop and be free. Now, step one, can you put your both legs up into a pike for a second? Okay, good. So the easier one, then drop that one. Good. And then, you don't have anything, man. Can I use your bag? Is there anything in there that's going to be, like, troublesome? No, okay. Perfect. So you can tell you can do this stuff anywhere, right? That's the other point of this. You can do this stuff anywhere with very little of anything. So sometimes I use a foam roll. Sometimes I use a book. A foam block might work just fine from the pit. All right, so are we, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Somebody want to come sit in it? Oh, okay, I think she can sit in it. But is that where your hammies are done and your bottom is still on the ground? Is your bottom coming up? Okay, so that's how I know where his hamstring length is in the right? So you want to get them as close to whatever you can get to. You'll notice in a second when I get to the picture this, my athlete has, you know, her bottom all the way against the, like she could be against the wall flat, right? You can do this in a doorway, balance beam, block, whatever you got. Okay, so this is where his hamstring, so you stop at the point where the bottom starts to come up, and then this is a functional movement exercise. So you start here, palms are going to be facing up, good. You're going to breathe into that ribcage like an umbrella, and you're going to breathe out and press back into the ground. Now, relax for a second. Did you guys see his chest pop up when he pressed back? Hold on. Black, why don't you wear black? Black and black is just not working. It's slimming. So don't change anything. I need to lay down. There. Okay, now go. Do exactly what you did. Press down on the ground. Do you guys see his chest pop up?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, what he just did was downwardly rotate his shoulder blades. Boom. Okay? Downward rotation of the shoulder blades creates decreased space in the shoulder, which guess what? When you go to lift your arm, you've already got decreased space in your shoulder. There's going to be lots of rubbing of the biceps tendon. Oh. Labrum, because that's what the biceps attaches to, right? And rotator cuff, because there's just not a lot of space in there. So if you're repetitively training to downwardly rotate your scapula, or you do this exercise and you find that that's your initial reaction, so it doesn't surprise me. He's torn both biceps, right? With no, I'm sorry, can I put you under the bus? But he's torn both biceps, right? And they were with mechanisms with no big thing, right? That's a wear and tear over time. That's the guy that bent over and picked up the pin. He goes, O-S-H-I-T, I have a little one, right? Can't move. And now it's down the leg. And all sorts. Well, it wasn't the pin. It was the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the repetitive whatever they were doing, probably spawning like this, that blew out the disc. It was just the pin that was the straw that said done, right? So that being said, if you guys try these exercises and you find yourself downward rotating, start thinking. You need to make sure that you're pushing, and he had a hard time pushing away on the stuff, so we're doing all this stuff together. So all I want to do is don't do that.